In the heart of the dense, misty forests of the Pacific Northwest, where ancient trees whisper secrets to the wind, lived a young Sasquatch named Pip. Pip was small for his kind, with shaggy, cinnamon-brown fur, and eyes as wide and curious as the full moon. He spent his days exploring the Muscoved world around his family's den, chasing butterflies and trying to mimic the songs of the forest birds. His world was one of wonder, filled with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. One crisp morning, as the sun's rays sliced through the canopy, Pip ventured farther than ever before. He was on a mission to find the juiciest blackberries, the ones that grew for Tories, where the sun warmed the forest floor. He padded silently on his soft, leathery feet, his small frame movimientos, effortlessly through the ferns and undergrowth. He found a promising patch elevation map, the edge of a clearing, the berries dark and plump. As he reached out a small, furry hand, something else caught his eye. There, pressed deep into the soft soil, was a footprint. But this was no ordinary footprint. It was immense, larger than anything Pip had ever seen. It was easily 5 times the size of his own foot, with long, defined toes and a deep, heavy heel print that suggested an incredible weight. Pip froze, his berry-picking forgotten. He stared at the print, his heart starting to thump a little faster in his chest. He had seen his father's footprints, his mother's, and those of his older siblings, but this was different. This was colossal. It knelt, his small fingers tracing the outline of the massive impression. To sheer scale, it was intimidating. He looked up and saw another, and then another, leading away from the clearing and deeper into the uncharted woods. A trail of giants. A shiver ran down Pip's spine, not from the morning chill, but from a primal, deep-seated fear. Who could possibly make a track this big? Was it a monster? A legend his elders whispered about in hushed tones around the crackling fire. Despite his trembling, curiosity gnawed at him. Eadi Tokano. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, Pip decided to follow the tracks. He moved cautiously, his senses on high alert. The forest, usually his playground, suddenly felt vast and menacing. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, made him jump. The giant footprints led him on a winding path, up a steep ridge and down into a valley he didn't recognize. The air grew colder here, and the trees seemed to lean in, their branches like skeletal fingers. The tracks led to the mouth of a dark, gaping cave, a black maw in the side of a rocky cliff, a low, guttural sound from within, a deep, rumbling noise that vibrated through the ground and up into Pip's bones. He began to shake uncontrollably. This was it. He had found the lair of the beast. His mind raced with terrifying images. Shula run, Shula. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, to race back to the safety of his family. But then, another sound reached his ears, faint and whimpering, a sound of distress. It was a sound he recognized. It was the cry of a young Sasquatch, whose like him. The fear that had paralyzed Pip was suddenly replaced by a surge of concern. Was another youngster in trouble? Was that the reason for the giant tracks? Was the monster hurting them? Stealing his resolve, Pip crept to the cave's entrance, peering into the inky blackness. His eyes, accustomed to the dim forest light, men were adjusted. He could make out a monstrous silhouette huddled in the back of the cave. It was huge, even bigger than he had imagined, its back rising and falling with each rumbling breath. And there, nestled against its massive side, was a tiny, whimpering figure. Pip's heart leaped into his throat. It was his little sister, Lily. She had wandered off earlier that morning. But who was the giant creature with her? As his eyes focused, he saw the creature gently nuzzle Lily with its enormous head, and the rumbling sound softened into what sounded like a comforting purr. The giant wasn't a monster at all. Just then, he heard his name being called. Pip. Lily. It was his father's voice, booming and anxious. Soon, his father and mother appeared at the edge of the clearing, their faces etched with worry. They spotted Pip at the cave entrance and rushed over. Pip! What are you doing? We've been looking everywhere for you and Lily, his father said, his voice a mix of relief and frustration. Pip pointed a trembling finger into the cave. "Lily's in there," he whispered. With him. His parents mudan santu de cavi. Their initial alarm turning to stunned silence. The giant creature looked up, its ancient eyes blinking slowly. It was a Sasquatch, but one of a kind they had only heard of in legends. An elder, a guardian of the forest, ancient and wise. His fur was the color of stone, streaked with gray, and his size spoke of centuries of life. The elder rumbled a greeting in their ancient tongue. He explained that he had found little Lily crying, lost and scared after tumbling down the ridge. He had brought her to his cave to keep her safe and warm until her family found her. The huge footprints were his, Dungeon of his gentle journey, carrying the tiny, lost child. Pip's fear melted away, replaced by awe and a touch of embarrassment. The shaking stopped. The monster he had imagined was actually a kind and ancient protector. His father bowed his head in respect to the elder, thanking him profusely for his kindness. They gathered a sleepy and content Lily into their arms. As they prepared to leave, the elder looked directly at Pip. His deep voice, like the rumbling of the earth, filled the cave. "You have a brave heart, little one," he said. "Fear is a shadow, but courage is the light that banishes it. You followed the fear and found the truth." Pip puffed out his chest, feeling a warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with the morning sun. He had been scared, yes, but he had also been brave. He had faced the unknown to help his sister. Walking back home, nestled between his mother and father, with Lily riding happily on his dad's shoulders, Pip looked at the forest with new eyes. It was still a place of mystery and secrets, but it was no longer menacing. He understood now that things are not always what they seem. The biggest footprints don't always belong to the scariest monsters. Sometimes they belong to the kindest hearts. And Pip, the small Sasquatch, with a big curiosity, knew he had many more adventures ahead of him, and he was ready to face them, one footprint at a time.